Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते हे गोपेशा गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंश कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल हरे कृष्णा। So thank you all for joining. So welcome to the Bhagavatam class. So yes, I can see Sarva Lakshmi Mataji is back from UK. So I want to welcome her. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Yes. So we are discussing the 27th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita today. By the way, I also want to mention, just so that I do not forget, today is Amit Prabhu's birthday. So you can give your best wishes to him. So the topic of today's Bhagavatam class applies to him. Actually, for most of us, it doesn't matter whether it's birthday or not, but you'll understand what I'm talking about when we discuss the chapter. Amit, no criticism intended, just philosophical point. So the chapter goes, attack by Candavega on the city of King Puranjan and the character of Kala Kanya. So we are continuing the discussion on the beautiful allegory. Narad Muni is continuing to instruct King Prachina Barishat through the allegory of Puranjana, which is actually the story of Puranjan, of Prachina Bari himself, but told as if it is the story of King Puranjan. So the story continues. Of course, all this while we discussed how the king was married Puranjani, how he was enjoying with her. Then at one point, he decided to go out into the forest and hunt animals and enjoy like that. And we discussed in the last chapter how he left his wife, went out for hunting, and he was so atrocious excessive in terms of his mindless violence. And eventually he gets frustrated and he comes back to his wife, but his wife is very upset that he left her and went away. Somehow he manages to pacify her and settles the matter. Okay, I'm just cutting a long story short. And then we discuss the analogy of how the Jiva Puranjan sometimes gives up his dharmic intelligence, the religious intelligence, and takes up to sinful ways, thinking that he can enjoy by he can be happy by indiscriminate enjoyment, but eventually becomes frustrated, and then finally comes back to his dharmic intelligence, where he gets some peace. And we discussed to quite some extent in the last class that how dharmic intelligence, even though is not the platform of liberation, it is the beginning point of evolution. One cannot even be materially happy if one is not situated in dharmic intelligence. So only those who are actually foolish, and those are foolish who are beyond the system of varnashram. Varnashram in the sense that those who do not accept a higher authority and regulate their lives based on instructions of higher authorities, they are considered low. Because for them, the only thought is, how can I enjoy? And whatever it takes to enjoy, they do, thinking that, what is there beyond this body. So such people, they are in an illusion that they think they'll be happy, but actually they just bring misery now and bring misery later. Even though they may achieve success at an external level, they are never able to be happy and enjoy, because they take the path of adharma. So the story continues, and Narad Muni is instructing King Prachina Barishat. So after this happened, the king fell at the feet of Puranjani and said, please, please, please forgive me. I want to, I want to be with you again. And finally she accepted him. But again, it is said, Puranjani brought King Puranjan under her control. Which essentially means that he gave up his sinful intelligence and became situated in dharmic intelligence again. So the king very nicely was so happy that the queen had finally accepted him again. And, he dressed himself nicely, he bathed, he became very nicely decorated, and he approached the queen again. Which means essentially he removed the sinful thoughts and he felt, yes, I am now back situated in my dharmic intelligence. Again, he was fully captivated by this Puranjani. When he came back and to her, after being nicely dressed, he embraced her. And again, he became very busy in their loving romantic life, loving words, spending a lot of time each other, sleeping together, enjoying bodily comfort together. He became totally absorbed. Which means even though he accepted dharmic intelligence, he did not actually give up sense enjoyment. The only thing is he took again back a dharmic path to enjoy sense gratification. But the point is, and we discussed this in the last class as well, that if one performs karma according to one's duties, but one performs karma simply for kama, that is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Those who simply perform dharma for artha and kama, for gain, material gain, and for enjoying at a sensual level, they become bewildered. They remain trapped. Of course, their condition is better than those who perform weak karma. Weak karma means bad karma. Or those who don't perform their duties properly. That is better. But still, the Bhagavatam says the objective of dharma is not calm. There's a very beautiful verse in the first canto. I don't remember it right now on top of my head. The Bhagavatam is very clear that dharma should not be used for kama. Dharma should be used as the means for the ultimate destination, of which the beginning is moksha and the ultimate conclusion is pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. So if dharma is not employed in that way, then actually one spoils the human form of life. So Puranjan continued to associate with Puranjani, which is dharmic intelligence, but he just became attached to dharma, which means just religious activity. And this is true for the vast majority of the people that we see in the world today, whom we see as religious. Isn't it? How many of the people today whom we see as religious, they believe in God, they have a nice altar, or whatever religious faith they may belong to. They do some kind of worship, prayers regularly, I have faith in God, I go to God, But if you analyze their psyche, ultimately everything boils down to, I just want to use dharma and God to get what I want to get so that I can enjoy this world better. It has not actually gone very far from vikarma. The only thing is, here is enjoyment illegally and this is enjoyment legally. That's all. Huh? If a person is attached to drinking liquor, whether he goes to an unlicensed shop with the fear of getting caught by the police, or he goes to a licensed shop. So there are some people in some countries, prostitution is illegal. So what those men do, they fly to Bangkok over the weekend and then they come back. So it's the same thing. You want to enjoy illicitly. You know, if you feel that this is illicit and there it is a bit more licit, but ultimately it's the same thing. So if a person is going to keep doing dharma for the purpose of kama, one is going to remain trapped. So dharma should be aimed towards ultimate liberation. Puranjan did not recognize this. And this is what happens for most of the population today also. They are not interested in liberation. You ask many of them, what is the goal of your life? Goal of my life is to work hard, earn a lot of money, have a big house for myself, buy another big house for each of my child, leave behind a big bank balance, be famous, establish all my children abroad, be glorified in society, and then happily die, and then go to heaven. This is all as far as they can think, even religious people. So this is actually a sorry state of affairs. And for such people, when you tell them about liberation, they become very disturbed. They don't like to discuss about liberation. They don't like to talk about detachment. They cannot see anything beyond it. In fact, sometimes even these very religious people, when their own children take to spirituality or Krishna consciousness, they dissuade them with great force. What is this? This is not the time to be religious. This is not the time to be spiritual. When you become old, you become spiritual. Has any one of you heard this? Some of you may have come to Krishna consciousness later in your life, but those who came at an earlier age, has anybody heard this comment? Why you are practicing spirituality now? This is for old, retired people who cannot do anything better. This is the thinking of many. I have heard this many times preached to me because I was attracted to Krishna consciousness very early. Yes, Suraj also has heard this. Even though Suraj is not particularly in the youngest of years right now, but still, he's young.
Many of my friends tell, why are you doing this? This is not the age. The common thing what I hear.
This is not the age. Yes. Gaurang Prabhu tells one very interesting story. Gaurang Prabhu tells a story. Once one boy joined the Brahmachari ashram. A young boy after his college, he joined the Brahmachari ashram. He wanted to dedicate his life to Krishna. He joined the ashram. His father was very angry. His father came to the ashram. He said, what is this? You have kept my boy here. He's only whatever, 20 something years old. Why you are doing this? This is absolutely wrong. Is this the age, to join the temple? This is all bogus. And he went on and on shouting and being very agitated. And he said, and the devotees asked him, so at what age should one actually do like this? He should do all this spirituality when he becomes my age. So the devotees told this father, okay, then that is fine. Let your son go, you join the ashram. Your son can go back, you join the ashram. So the father became very shocked. He didn't expect that the devotees will say something like that. Because he only said, this is not the age, this is the age. And he's already at that age, so why don't you do it now? Then he became so shocked, then finally said, it's okay, let my son be here. I am going back home. So the point is that if you don't cultivate spiritual life from early on, Kaumaram Acharit Pragyo Dharman Bhagavata Nihar, detachment from material life is not going to come even at a later age. All those who say that spiritual life will come later, most of them will not end up practicing any spirituality later. Or even if they practice some kind of spirituality, it will be time pass spirituality. Just some religious entertainment. There is not going to be any spirituality. The attraction for spiritual life doesn't come automatically with old age. Nor does attraction to material enjoyment disappear automatically with old age. So this is an important point. So the whole youth of Puranjan passed away, it is said, as if it was a moment. And he remained in the embrace of his wife, enjoying sensual pleasures in many ways with his heart full of lust. Puranjan and Puranjani had many sons and daughters. It is said 1,100 sons and 110 well-qualified daughters. He got all his sons married to qualified wives. He got all his 110 daughters married to qualified husbands. In this way, it is said he passed half his life. Each of his sons in turn produced hundreds of sons. In this way, the whole city of Panchala was full of the descendants of Puranjan and Puranjani. So all these sons, grandsons, they are all considered, the equivalence is that the jiva is enjoying various kinds of sense enjoyments. So all these sons and these are the various products of sense enjoyment. The actions and reactions that the jiva generates by his material activities is represented by the sons and grandsons. And Narad Muni says that all these sons and grandsons, they were not an asset to Puranjan. They were plundering the wealth of Puranjan. They were plundering his home, treasury, his servants, secretary. They were looting everything. They were enjoying at his cost. But his attachment to all of them was so deep-rooted, he was not able to give it up. So this is the problem with the conditioned souls. Even though all the materialistic pursuits are sapping away all the real assets, material and spiritual, for a living entity, the living entity is so attached. Aham, mama, I, me, mine, and his own sense enjoyment that is unable to see beyond them, and he just wastes his human form of life. So it's said King Puranjan was so busy enjoying this world and continuously performing various kinds of religious rituals. He was worshipping devatas, he was worshipping the pitris, his forefathers, also various powerful social leaders, and he was performing a lot of animal sacrifices. And in that way, he was just continually perpetuating his material engagement. Narad Muni at this point in time makes a very interesting comment when he speaks to King Prachina Barhi. He tells King Prachina Barhi, he says, this King Puranjan became implicated in many materialistic desires, just like you. Just like you, O King. But he got very implicated. So Narad Muni is now hinting to him that this story is about you. Please understand the lesson also. Don't just get excited by the story. The story is about you. So he hints to him. And that this is an allegory meant to teach you. Narad Muni continues the story. He says that Puranjan was so absorbed in Kutumba Asakta Chetasaha. The Chetasa, the mind being so attached, Asakta, to Kutumba. Kutumba means family. Eventually, as he wasted his youth in all this materialistic enjoyment, eventually his youth passed away and he reached that juncture of life which is most disliked by those who are overly attached to women. Apriya Priya Yoshitam. Anybody can guess what milestone that is? Any guesses? What point of life is disliked by those who are overly attached to women? I want to hear some answers. Anyone? Okay, Amit is asking for the question again. What point of life is disliked by those who are overly attached to women or overly attached to materialistic enjoyment? Any guesses?
Old age, Prabhu.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Mataji. It is old age, because those who are continuously used to enjoying, enjoyment is facilitated by strong body and strong senses. Once the body and the senses start becoming weak, enjoyment becomes impeded. And that is why those who are attached to enjoyment become very disturbed when old age approaches. The hair starts turning white. Of course, nowadays, hair starts turning white even in early age. But nonetheless, when the senses start becoming weak. So the story continues. Narad Muni says the city of Puranjan was attacked by a Gandharva king whose name was Candavega. This king Candavega attacked Puranjan's city with his army of 360 powerful Gandharva soldiers. And each of these Gandharva soldiers was accompanied by a Gandharvi soldier companion. And all of these 360 plus 360, 720, they attacked and plundered Puranjan city. The Puranjan city was designed for sense enjoyment. The body is designed, but these 360 plus 360 is attacking. So what is the comparison here? Candavega is referring to time. More specifically, the period of time of 1 year. And within a year, there are 360 days and 360 nights. So the 360 male soldiers are 360 days, the 360 female soldiers are 360 nights. And Candavega and his soldiers, as they said, that they were gradually ripping apart the city, which means from birth, slowly as each and every day and night passes, one's life is being gradually reduced. The left part of the life is gradually being reduced. And as Candavega's forces of time were attacking and plundering, the five-hooded serpent, which is the Panchaparanas, the five-hooded serpent, the Panchaparanas in the body were continuously trying to repel the force. They were trying to keep the body alive by fighting the force of time. Alone, the Pranas were fighting with the 720 Gandharvas for 100 years. 100 years is the approximate duration of human life. Eventually, the five-hooded snake started becoming weak. What does that mean? The Pranas are strong and fervent at a younger age, but as one crosses 40, 45, after 40 and 45, with passing of age, health doesn't improve. It generally goes down. So the king became worried that the snake is becoming weaker and weaker, and there are so many powerful soldiers who are attacking. And he became very anxious. But still, nonetheless, Puranjan continued to enjoy because he was so attached that fearlessly he was enjoying sense gratification in the city. He was collecting taxes, and which means he was enjoying all his senses. And he was so controlled by women that he was unable to understand that death was approaching him. So this is the state of the conditioned soul. There's a very beautiful verse in the Bhagavatam, which we have discussed multiple times, that with every passing and setting of the sun is taking away the life, Udyan Astan, taking away the life of every single living entity. Correct? Now today is Saturday night. So after today, one more day of our life is reduced. So tomorrow counter is reduced by -1. Whatever is left of our life. Each one has a different amount left, but one day is gone. And the way this is designed is it should actually make us more and more serious that as time is passing, especially as old age is approaching, that one should become serious about spiritual life. But this doesn't happen. And that is why Krishna makes a plan. What is that? That will be revealed for the rest of the story. So Narad Muni starts telling that at this time, Narad Muni is telling King Prachina Parishad, Kala Kanya means the daughter of time. Kala is time and Kanya is daughter. Can anybody guess who is Kala Kanya? What is the comparison? Kala Kanya, her name is Jara. Who is she? Kala Kanya Jara was the daughter of Candavega, time. And
Old age.
Old age. Jara means old age. Thank you. The daughter of Candavega, because Candavega is representing time. The daughter of Candavega is Kala Kanya, the daughter of time, whose old age. She was looking for a husband throughout all the three worlds. Now, of course, this is an allegory. But no one was ready to marry Kala Kanya, Jara, because nobody likes to accept old age, right? At one time, Narad Muni says, there was this King Puru who had accepted voluntarily this Jara, Kala Kanya, and in return he had received a special blessing. But generally nobody wants to accept. So this pastime of Puru accepting Jara, Kala Kanya is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. I think it is somewhere in the 9th canto. 9th canto, 18th chapter. This pastime is mentioned. So I'll just briefly mention what that pastime is. It is not relevant for this conversation, for the theme of Puranjan's discussion, but the pastime is like this. The Shukracharya had a very beautiful daughter, and that particular daughter, she had married Yayati. So this beautiful daughter of Yayati, she had a friend by the name of Sharmishtha. Now this Sharmishtha, when the daughter got married and she went to the house of Maharaj Yayati, Sharmishtha also went with her. In olden times, it was a tradition. Sometimes one of the very close friends, who's almost like a handmaiden, would go along with the bride to the house of the bridegroom. And somehow it so happened that King Yayati also got attached to Sharmishtha. This is the danger of taking your friends. So she was very upset. She went and complained to, I think it was Devyani, if I'm not wrong. She complained to Shukracharya, her father, and Shukracharya was so upset with Yayati for this misbehavior, because he was very attached to his daughter and he couldn't tolerate her discomfort and her misery. He cursed Yayati to become prematurely old. So Yayati was actually a very pious king. But somehow when he was suddenly struck with old age in the middle of youth, and he had 5 young sons, but he was still very young because this was a previous age. He was so disappointed that I haven't yet enjoyed in life all the things that I want to enjoy. He was so disappointed that he wanted his youth back. And he was told that you can get your youth back. The only way is if somebody exchanges their youth with you, which means they take your old age and they give their youth to you. So that was a way out. So he approached his 5 sons. He had 5 young sons. Please, I am your father. I'm instructing you. Please take my old age. Give me your youth. Actually, it was quite shameless for him to ask like that. But he did nonetheless. That means he was quite attached to sense enjoyment. So nobody agreed except for one son who's Puru, who was the youngest one. So Yayati was very pleased when he accepted this. Puru was given the kingdom of Bharatvarsha for accepting this old age, and all the other brothers were given different parts of kingdom of Yayati, which were outside India. So the different sons of Yayati went to different parts. Some settled in Greece, some settled in Turkey. So the Turkish race, the Greek race, and all those warriors are said to be descendants of the other sons of Yayati who are disobedient to the father. This is what Prabhupada also explains. So of course, Puru's life was glorified because he made that great sacrifice. But Puru also was not able to enjoy because he had sacrificed his old age. And that is why the scriptures say that, one should not wait for old age. One should become Krishna conscious immediately. It is better to not wait, because actually when the senses become weak, it becomes even more difficult to become Krishna conscious. Anyway, so that is the story of Puru. So Narad Muni is mentioning that Puru had accepted Jara. That was one exception because of a very peculiar situation. Otherwise, nobody wants to marry her. So this Jara is going around everywhere trying to get a husband, but nobody was marrying her. It is said, Narad Muni says, at one time, when I had come from Brahmaloka down to earth and roaming the earth, this Jara approached me, Narad Muni said, and asked me to marry her. I flatly told her, no, I'm not interested in marriage. I'm brahmachari, because she saw I'm brahmachari, that I can marry, and so she came to me. But I said no. And she was so upset because she was so lusty to get married, and I said no to her. She was so upset that she cursed me. And what did she curse me? That Narad Muni, you cannot stay in one place for a long time because you refused to marry me. And Narad Muni was actually quite happy by that curse. Because as a traveling preacher, Narad Muni was not interested in staying in one place, because Narad Muni is Aniketa. Aniketa means he doesn't have a house. He's always traveling from one place to another. And Prabhupada also often says that I have inherited that curse of Narad Muni because I am coming in his disciplic succession. And I am also continuously traveling from one place to another because I have also accepted this curse. So being disappointed by Narad Muni, Jara, taking the advice of Narad Muni. So Narad Muni said, sorry, I cannot do this, but why don't you go and marry Bhaya? Bhaya is fear, who is the king of the Yavanas. So this Bhaya, fear, is a good companion for you, who's old age. What does that mean? The right accompaniment for old age is fear. Now there's a very deep meaning to this. And what is the deep meaning? The deep meaning to this is fear. Old age is always accompanied by fear. In fact, old age is designed to instill fear, because that living entity who is so busy enjoying material enjoyment without considering any spiritual future, old age, when it starts to strike, it starts reminding the person. Radhanath Maharaj always says, and many times he says in classes, old age means it is a pre-warning that death is near. Essentially, that is what old age is. Correct? It is a notification through nature. Time is getting up, is going to end. You don't have a lot of time left. So please see what you want to do with your life. So that is actually healthy, and that is design of the Lord. That as old age comes and as the senses become weak, one is forced to think about the real purpose of life. And that fear is designed to induce people to become spiritual. Of course, still everybody doesn't become spiritual, even though that is the intention. Those who are actually very sinful and materialistic, they just try various kinds of means to hide their old age and take various kinds of chemicals to maintain their ability to enjoy sense enjoyment. They never learn. But there are some who take the warning and say, oh, old age is appearing, now my time is up. In olden times, it was always like that. When people would see that white hair is coming, they would say, now my grahastha life is enough. Now I should start planning and hand over everything to my children and figure out what I want to do next. Of how I can focus the remaining part of my life on purifying myself and working towards liberation and ultimately attaining pure love. So this is one good thing, even though jara is or old age is bad in one sense, it's actually good, isn't it? There is some warning. There's at least some opportunity for us. Of course, we can still disregard it because we always have the free will, but at least that warning is there. In the heavenly planets, it is said there is no jara. Those who go to the higher planets, the devatas, they don't get warning of old age. There is no deterioration of the body. They're enjoying dancing. Imagine, they're dancing in a party with the apsaras, drinking somaras. I don't know what song they dance to, but I'm assuming it is not Bollywood song or any Western rock song. Hopefully, it will still be a passionate song, possibly, but I would think it would be a bit more sattvic, relatively speaking, as compared to what happens on earth. They are enjoying, but as their counter of punya, kshine punya, as soon as the Puranas explain, the Bhagavatam, as soon as the punya comes down to zero, it is said instantly at that time, the living entity who's in a demigod body, he just falls down from heaven. Let's say he's standing on a dance floor and dancing. Whatever is the heaven dance floor, I do not know. He just passes through the dance floor and just falls down. Others are continuing to dance, including his companion. She immediately finds somebody else to dance with. And he falls down. And he's like shocked. Can you imagine how rude? What a rude shock for a person who's enjoying in heaven. Suddenly falls down and he's just falling. And it is said as he's falling and as he realizes his enjoyment has come to an abrupt end, he starts crying. And as he's crying, the soul comes out from the demigod body, enters the tear, and mixes with the rain which is falling on earth, because the body comes and it comes to the earth. And then with the raindrop, it falls to the earth, enters the soil, enters a plant, takes shelter of a grain, and that grain is eaten by somebody. Then he enters the body of the male. From the male he goes to a female, and then he takes another body. So this is explained in the scripture. This is not my concoction. This is explained in the scripture. So it's quite rude. So there's no old age warning in heaven. So at least on earth there's old age warning. Ding, 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 ding. Time is coming to an end. So it's good. So in that sense, even though old age is bad, there is some benefit. So Narad Muni says, when Kalakanya was sent to Bhaya, Yavanaraj, the king of the Yavanas, by Narad Muni, she went to him and said, "Oh, great Yavanaraj, you are the best of the Yavanas." Yavanas are those who are sinful in their habits, unregulated. I want you as my husband. Who can be better than you? And then she goes on glorifying him and other things, which I will not go into all those things. So please be merciful to me and accept me. It is your duty to be compassionate. So she was speaking very sweet words to try to convince him. So Bhai was listening to all this. Of course, he was not too excited because who wants to marry old age? But Bhaya also knew the Lord's plan. Bhaya knew that it is the plan of the Lord that old age should be accompanied by fear. And old age comes in to give that rude shock to living entities. To create an impetus for them to make spiritual life. So all these aspects are also plan of the Lord, and they have their own role. So he thought a bit and then he told Kalakanya, well, actually I thought about it, your proposal, but I have decided on a husband for you. Actually, you are not auspicious. Actually, nobody wants to accept you. So my suggestion is that I have a service for you. You can marry my, first thing, you can marry my brother Prajvara. And you can become my sister. And you three, Prajvara, Kalakanya, and my soldiers should jointly attack all those living entities who are absorbed in materialistic fruitive activity and simply absorbed in material activities. Attack them. Invisibly, imperceptibly, all three of you will attack them and finish them off. Which essentially meant that the karmis of this world will become like her husband. And after enjoying them, she will destroy them. But she was forbidden to approach any devotees. Prabhupada emphasizes that the devotees are spared of Jara. Spared in the sense that, not that they don't become old in that sense, but they are spared of the fate of old age that ordinary materialistic people go through as a very frustrating phase of life. Because for those who are devotees of the Lord, death is the gateway to liberation. Death is not a scary event for them. In fact, death in one way is a celebration. That's why when great souls depart from this world, their departure is celebrated. Of course, we mourn their departure because we have lost them, but their departure is a celebration for them because they have attained the supreme destination. So he says that you can imperceptibly attack, which means Jwara. See, this Prajvara, who he says is his brother, Prajvara means very high fever. So it is said just before death, one gets very high fever. Prabhupada says 107 degrees Fahrenheit. So first there is old age. And then there is the soldiers of Yavanraj who attack, which means various kinds of sinful activities, bad habits, unclean habits. All this attack and make a person weak and weak and weak. And eventually when the time of death comes, Prajvara or intense high fever. It is said just before death, the body goes to a very high temperature and then it becomes cold. This is how Ayurveda and the traditional scriptures explain. So that temperature which propels one to death is known as Prajvara. Jwara means fever. Prajvara means intense fever. So he says, you are my sister. But even though he said I'm accepting as my sister, it is said because Narad Muni instructed him to accept her as his wife, he also accepted her as a wife. So it is said Yavanraj accepted Jara or Kalakanya as his wife as well as his sister. And the Acharyas commented what this means is that those who are Yavanas, which means those who are not following the rules of scriptures, they are very indiscriminate with respect to sense enjoyment. So normally one would never combine a relationship like this, but those who are sinful attitude, those who disregard scriptural instructions, do something like this. They have no consideration of right or wrong. So this is where this chapter ends, where he eventually accepts her and he gives her this instruction that this is how you will facilitate your function, Jara, by approaching all living entities, and we will scare them together. They will become weak because of their bad habits, and then fear will come, old age will come, then prajvara will come, and finally they'll die. And in this way, they will reach their end. Okay. So I want to stop here. Any questions? Any comments? I want to ask a quick question. I think some devotees were saying they are getting some buffering while the class is going on. Anyone is suffering from that buffering? Suddenly my screen is freezing. You cannot hear me. Anybody else is experiencing this? No? No. Suraj is saying no. Sarvalakshmi Mataji is saying no.
No, Prabhuji.
No, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
No,
So
Prabhu. No, Prabhu.
okay, so even Ritaji in Nasik is saying no. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm also not experiencing that. Yeah, fine. Okay, no worries. Okay, any questions, any comments? I know it's a bit technical, but I hope it is also simultaneously interesting. And we draw the right lesson. So going back to what I started with, why I said this today's class is interesting for those who are having their birthdays, especially those who are around my age, is because, this is the time for us to reflect, because Kala Kanya is approaching us. Jara is approaching us. Old age is gradually approaching us. So it is Krishna's warning to be more serious. Of course, all those who are here in this session are obviously working towards their spiritual purification. But nonetheless, all these events come into our life, it should help us to reflect and become more serious. Take more shelter. That is the important thing. That is the success of the birthday of a devotee. The success of a birthday of a devotee is not that, oh, he had a wonderful birthday and a beautiful cake and, put nice pictures on Facebook and so many people wished him. That is how materialistic people celebrate. Of course, there's nothing wrong in the celebration per se. That also one can do, but that is not the end all be all. There's a very beautiful prayer which King Kulashekar sings. Trying to recollect that verse. Let me look that up. Meanwhile, is there any question or comment? I want to look up that verse. A very beautiful verse. Very beautiful verse. So I remember the verse. Idam shariram parinama peshalam patattavasyam shatasandhi jarjaram kim aushadam prachasi muda durmate niramayam krishna rasayanam pibam. King Kulashekara is saying, idam shariram parinama peshalam. This whole body is full of so many kinds of problems and so many kinds of diseases. Patati avashyam satasandhi jarjaram. It is eventually going to become old and it is going to crumble and it is going to fall. The king is young, but he is anticipating, just like Jara, he knows that it is going to come to that. Kim aushadam prachasi muda durmate. Oh foolish man, why are you hunting for medicine to make your body strong? Because anyway it is going to fall. Yes, you can make it a bit more stronger, you can delay it a bit, but eventually it's going to fall. Look for the real medicine. Niramayam Krishna Rasayanam Piba. Drink the real medicine of Krishna consciousness. Niramayam Krishna Rasayanam Piba. Very beautiful verse. Idam shariram parinama peshalam patatyavashyam shatasandhi jarjaram himaushadam prichasi muda durmate niramayam Krishna rasayanam piba. It is part of the Mukunda Mala Stotra. It's beautiful prayers by King Kulashekara. Very nice. He's a very, very great devotee king from South India, King Kulashekara. So, yes, so all of us, we must make sure we do not forget.
Krishna
This
Prabhu, can
important
I
thing.
just share one point?
Yes, Sudhir Sundar Prabhu. Do you agree?
I'm already advanced in terms of white hair. So, no,
Arey,
Prabhu, I just wanted to share one point. I think you also shared. I think in our life, as we go through this journey, there won't be a time where we have time, energy, and wealth. All is equal, because as we are going through in these different phases of life, you will find that one is more than the other. So that is the thing. Throughout our life, we will have to go through. So whatever, when we have all the time, we don't have the energy. When we have the energy, we don't have the money. So that's the reality of life. That's what first point. And the second point is that when we see what things are happening around us, I mean, like even without old age also, sometimes we see, especially now in this generation, when what the death comes, it doesn't look for age, old age and young age. So when your time is up, that's the time you go. So when we see things happening around us also, sometimes it's very, very scary. But I
yeah,
guess
and nowadays, yeah, sorry, bro, please complete. Yeah.
so I would guess that, like the Stay said, you were telling old age is when we must begin to realize. But I think now at any point of time, because young age, old age, it doesn't matter.
At least old age, at least.
Yeah.
Because
So,
Prabhupada would say we never know. Old age means when we are close to that is old age, but we don't know when we are going to die. That is the reality. Many people, because today's society is so organized and life is so stressful. So many people die early in their early 50s because of the stress. They get a heart attack and they die. So they don't even grow up to be old in the traditional sense of the word old. Rather, they're already old because they have wrecked their own body because of leading very unnatural, high stress lives. Whether it is because of bad habits, whether it is because of stress, whether it is because of, whatever reason. So if you are going to wreck our body, then, it may give way anytime. Shatasandhi jarjaram. So we never know. You are right, Prabhu. We never know, when what is going to happen. That's why Prabhupada and the Acharyas say that a devotee tries to develop a consciousness that he says that, any day can be my last day. So better. At most, how many days would I have? At most, I may have 100 years. Nowadays, 100 is also very unlikely. 70, 80 is a good optimism. But the nature of the material world is never know. So it's good. It's good to remind oneself of this. Some people think that thinking of death is being pessimistic. No, this is the ultimate realistic. Why is it pessimistic? If you know you are going to die and death is so sure, shouldn't you be not that miserable all the time, but shouldn't we be always conscious that this is the end that we are going to meet, and everything we are doing all our life is going to be taken away from us in one moment? If that is the ultimate truth for each of us, why should we overdo material life? We are not saying that we should be irresponsible in material life. Why should we overdo material life? We should be asking the question, what is it that is significant that will remain with us after death and will help us not only now, but even after we die, right? And that is where dharma comes. At least dharma, and even better, it is dharma which is targeted towards Krishna consciousness. Any other points, questions? Thank you, Sudhir Sundar Prabhu. Yes. Where is Amit? Amit, we want you to speak something of your realizations.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So on this point that you were just discussing, I don't know whether you can hear me because the video and voice is buffering for me.
I can hear you.
Okay. So on this point that you just mentioned, I just remembered one lecture of Gaurang Prabhu that I was listening to last week, where he said that, I actually, as humans, what we need to know is the art of dying, the art of living. Even animals know. So through our spiritual, sadhana, and through all this progress, we should get to a point where we know the art of dying, not the art of living. So I just, this point just came to my mind. I thought I'll just share it.
Yes, beautiful. No, the art of living, which is oblivious to the fact of dying, is foolishness. So the art of living, which is aware of dying and which includes the art of dying, is the real art of living. I mean, I'm just stating the same thing in a slightly different way. Because sometimes when we say art of dying, people think that means that living is not important. No, that's not what we are saying. Because the art of dying is perfected through the art of living. Right? Because only if we live right, only then we can die right. We cannot learn the art of dying and live whatever way and hope to perfect the art of dying. That is never going to happen. And that is why, like what we discussed earlier, right? A person is not going to become spiritual simply when he becomes old. If he has not cultivated spirituality and developed proper dharmic habits and some spiritual cultivation throughout his life, it's not going to happen. Unless there are some previous sukrutis or there are some previous scholars. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. So Amit, we wish you the best. Amit is my very dear friend. So I know him since almost kindergarten.
Thank you,
So all the if in this group anybody knows all the naughtiness and all the wrong things I may have done all through my life, it is only Amit who knows. But he has promised that he'll not tell anybody. I'm just joking. So anyway, any other questions, comments? Okay, I think is this okay or is this too technical, the classes? And I don't know whether you are finding it boring.
My experience is it's not technical. It's very good, because these 3 chapters, as you had mentioned in the previous class, are technical chapters. When we read the Bhagavat Subodhini, it seemed to be very technical, but the way you explained it here, the last chapter and this chapter, you made it look so simple.
Okay, thank you, Amit.
Yeah.
Amit is always very appreciative. Sridevi Mataji is also giving a thumbs up. Thank you. So if nobody is complaining, then that means you're all tolerating me. So that
Very good class, Prabhu.
Thank you, Indulekha Saki Mataji. Thank you, Saraswati. Okay.
It's always very interesting, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Rita ji. Please give me your blessings.
So we can understand it's very well what is the thing exactly and all that.
Wonderful.
And especially I like humor you put in between, that is very interesting. That's
Yes.
Prabhuji. Yes, next class very interesting, right?
Yes, yes. It at least helps. Humor is the
Yeah, not
carrier
monotonous
of the
type.
message.
Yeah, not monotonous type class like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. Thank you. Okay, good. So that means you are all okay. Anyway, there's two more chapters on the topic of Puranjan. So we'll wrap them up. It's good because this philosophy is very relevant to all of us also. This is actually Puranjan's life is King Prachina Bari's life, which actually is the life of almost all of us, right? Is it very different? We may not be kings, but the way we go through our life is not actually very different. Many of us, we are still at a stage where we want to be spiritual, but we may not have been actually become so serious in our own spiritual lives. So we should actually give ourselves a hard look and see whether we are taking our own spiritual life seriously enough. Because when I ask myself this question, I always feel that I am not taking my spiritual life seriously enough. Yes, I feel like that. There is much more that can be done. So that is good impetus for us to try to improve ourselves. Okay, 10 o'clock. So as I mentioned, we are not having a class next Wednesday. You all opted for Thursday, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming we are all on for Thursday, 9 p.m. Malaysia time, which is 6:30 p.m. India time for Chaitanya Charitamrita to continue with the next chapter. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'll see you all on Thursday. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Thank you. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Siddhi Sundar Prabhu. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Suraj, Shalini.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Thank
Indulita
you,
Mataji. Archana ji, thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Sachi Prema Mataji, Anand Sundar.